Nós vamos chamar o Khalil Bitar, presidente da EvalYouth Global Network, que fará a apresentação à importância do ecossistema de avaliação para o cumprimento da Agenda 2030, o papel da Eval for Action e da EvalYouth. Relembro a todos que estão acompanhando agora a palestra do Khalil, que podem fazer uso da ferramenta de tradução simultânea no aplicativo Zoom. Basta clicar ali embaixo do aplicativo no globo interpretação. Clicando lá, você escolhe o idioma português para ouvir o áudio já da nossa tradução simultânea. So, Khalil, thank you very much for joining us. It's a pleasure to have you here, and it's up to you now. Over to you.
Thank you, Diego. Thank you, Roger, Marcia, Fatima, and Carolina. Just to make sure, do you hear me well and do you see my screen?
Yes, we do. Perfect.
Yes.
Great. I'm really glad to be joining you today. Good afternoon to all of you. It is my pleasure to join this very special event, and so many of you coming from all around Brazil, perhaps also in other countries. This event, the 9th National Seminar for the Brazilian Monitoring and Evaluation Network, is very important, and for for Action, the Decade of Evaluation for Action campaign, we are very glad to join you. We highly value in the campaign Eval for Action, connecting with partners and colleagues from all over the world. And very pleased to receive this invitation from Marcia to participate in the event. The Brazilian Monitoring and Evaluation Network is an active and valued member and partner of the campaign. The seminar also coincides with the International Youth Day today, which has the theme Youth Engagement for Global Action, which I find as highly relevant to the seminar's focus and the topic. Happy International Youth Day to all of you. Especially, I single out as chair of EvalYouth, young and emerging evaluators and professionals who are with us today. I'll speak a little bit about the Eval for Action campaign per se. Maybe some of you are interested to learn about it, as well as the EvalYouth Global Network's role in the campaign, and the role of VOBIs in achieving SDGs, which is central to the objective of the campaign itself. But now, for now, I'll try to answer or think about the question that we have in the beginning about why do we need evaluation and evaluators and evaluation community for the 2030 agenda. Let's have a look at the SDGs and the progress achieving them. This was in 2019, prior to the COVID-19 global pandemic. And it shows different countries' experience and progress toward the SDGs and achieving them. Brazil is one of the countries that we're doing quite well, as you see, but many of the countries, especially in Sub-Saharan Africa, the Middle East and North Africa, Southeast Asia, have very different experiences. Then came the pandemic, COVID-19. And I'm sure several of you have already seen this graphic from the United Nations Department of Economic and Social Affairs, UNDESA. The pandemic affected the potential achievement and progress on all SDGs in all countries and in all regions, but especially poorer countries and even poorer people in richer countries. There are some SDGs that affected more than others. But even progress on SDG 13, climate action, is negatively affected despite the reduced environment footprint due to less production and transportation due to the lockdown measures, as we often hear in the news and read so many articles about. There are also signs of reduced commitments by countries for climate action, which is disastrous in many ways. Many have directly linked actually the pandemic to the environmental crisis anyways. We'll not have time to perhaps discuss this at length, but there are studies and research that is done on this. Nevertheless, perhaps one of the hardest hit SDGs, if we so to speak, is SDG 10, reduced inequalities. Things were not great before COVID-19, the richest 1% owned 45% of the world wealth. This is in 2018. 10 men, not women actually, had as much wealth as many countries. And look, compared to Argentina, Poland, Taiwan, Norway, Australia, some of the richest countries in the world as well. And the wealth of the world poorest was shrinking. Not only that it was low, it was shrinking relative to the billionaires' wealth. And other data indicate similar findings. We can see it everywhere until 2019, before the pandemic. After COVID, things got worse and expected to continue as such. As you see, unfortunately, from this graph, inequality will be one of the most disastrous outcome of COVID on the SDGs, but also generally in many poor countries, but also poor people in rich countries. Yet the SDGs are still there with all targets and indicators. And some might argue that we need to work on achieving them more than ever, actually. If not, do we have to give up on the objective of zero hunger, gender equity or equality, climate action, and reduced inequalities, especially? Maybe actually there is more need now than ever for the SDGs with the targets it has. Some in the community as well are calling for prioritization of the SDGs and focusing on fewer goals related to poverty, hunger, health, and inclusivity, particularly SDG 1, 2, 3, and 4, with fewer targets needed to be considered. This is from EvalYouth, Eval for Action blog post by Dr. Rashmi Agrawal. But between all positions, there are an agreement that evaluation can help and is essential. And I focus not on perhaps the particular role of individual evaluators, but more on the evaluation community overall. Michael Quinn-Button in Blue Marble Evaluation, his newest book, put it as so: the world is not burning, but the embers are lit. But this was even before COVID, just 1 year or a little bit less before COVID. Relevant to my point here though, he shows how the evaluators and evaluation's role is essential between pessimism and optimism, as evaluators are equipped with data, look for evidence, and provide much needed credible findings. And this is one of the reasons why evaluators' role is essential. But how can we evaluation community as well contribute? What added value do we have as evaluators and community as well? I will try to answer with a focus on the Eval for Action campaign, including the role of VOBIs, Voluntary Organization for Professional Evaluations or Evaluation Associations, and other partners in the campaign, including, of course, EvalYouth, which I chair and would like to speak about today. Aligned to the UN Secretary General's Decade of Action campaign, Eval for Action is co-led by UNFPA, EvalYouth Global Network, and the Global Parliamentarian Forum. Seeks to promote widespread recognition on evaluation being critical to and key accelerator of achieving the SDGs. It mobilizes commitments by different stakeholders. And this is very interesting about Eval for Action. It has parliamentarians, governments, evaluation associations, NGOs, and even the private sector to invest in stronger evaluation systems to inform public policies, ensuring no one is left behind. We found that strong evaluation capacities and systems are critical to accelerate the progress of national development strategies in particular. Without strong evaluation or national M&E systems in general, to assess whether development interventions are relevant, sustainable, and achieving equitable results, too many people will continue to be left behind, which is essential to the whole 2030 agenda. There have been many gains in national evaluation capacities that are documented well in so many different literature, but it is not advancing in the speed or scale required to achieve the SDGs. A large majority of voluntary national reviews, VNRs, presented at the previous high levels, including this last one, although no fully fledged analysis has been done so far, also reveal lack of evaluative evidence with limited mention of evaluation, if at all. Working as a catalyst, Eval4Action aims to revitalize global engagement and commitment on national evaluation capacities for timely delivery of the SDGs. Eval4Action really belongs to everyone, and we are calling upon individuals, networks, and institutions, all levels, to take ownership of the campaign. And there are several initiatives documented on the website and partners working together in different countries or with same partners in the same countries. Also core to the campaign is the meaningful engagement of young and emerging evaluators to drive sustainable development at all levels. This is publication part, or this chapter at least, is part of this publication called Evaluation for Transformative Transformational Change, which was published by IDEAS during the 2019 General Assembly, and chapter 3 that I co-wrote with my colleagues in EvalYouth about revolution in the making, evaluation done well in the era of the SDGs, with focus on youth and youth participatory evaluation. But some of you might find it useful. Since its establishment in 2015, as one of the main activities of the International Year of Evaluation, EvalYear, EvalYouth has been about action. In the network, we really believe that those who see and do not act are enablers. And we as young and emerging evaluators refuse to be enablers of injustice, inequalities, environmental degradation, and indeed inaction on these issues that touch the life and dignity of all people around the world. And we saw so many movements recently targeting that, even in the most affluent and rich countries. Youth around the world are sparking, leading, and taking a highly active role in multiple socio-political grassroots movements, advocating for enhanced social justice, equity, environmental sustainability, peace, and several other right-based and forward-looking critical issues. Many of these issues are actually the core of the SDGs. They are often also activists and leaders in many of the social movements themselves. For all of this, we are impatient to make the SDGs come alive in our countries and regions, and understand the crucial role of evaluation and national M&E system in achieving the global goals. We also are proud to see that the global evaluation community ready to act together. Since announcing the launch of the campaign in April this year, approximately 105 partners have joined already. We feel blessed to have such partnership, including with you in the Brazilian Monitoring and Evaluation Network. And we hope that this will enable us to work together towards achieving the SDGs. Their SDGs are already very ambitious goals, and we know that, and there's good documentation of that. And usually in the campaign, or even when we have such webinars, are asked if we have to lower the objectives and the goals of the SDGs. And I always recall from the monitoring and evaluation work we do when we work in a project, and then we have a storm in certain place. We don't have to go to the theory of change and change the objectives. We have to see what we can do, and then we can talk about what we have achieved or not. Of course, amending our actions, but many of the goals are very important. And within the framework of Eval4Action, we see a lot of progress and a lot of work together on that. And I want to leave you perhaps with one thought that is very important for many of Eval4Action's partners. Eval4Action is Eval for justice, Eval for equity, and Eval for sustainability. And we are all in this together. we have no time to waste as well on an action, and the SDGs constitute one of our best shared global agenda. There could be a lot of argument about why the SDGs now, but what is the alternative? That is very important for me to think and consider. That we all have responsibility to work together, actually. And the question we always ask, I'm talking about from EvalYouth, but from Eval4Action as well. If not now, then when? Thank you so much for listening, and I look forward to engaging with you. I know that the translation will not stay for the whole time, so I might be leaving, but if you need more information or like to connect with the Eval4Action campaign, EvalYouth, or with me, please hear the details, and it would be my pleasure to answer any questions or engage in any requests you may have about this topic. Thank you so much for the opportunity.